It is species diversification. And for you who may prefer to hear this session in French, we have headphones up here. Yes. My name is Christian Jørgensen, and I am project manager of several tropical timber projects under FSC. I come from FSC Denmark, and it started become sort of our project focus to promote tropical timber in general, and especially the lesser known timber species. And it's a quite interesting subject, and I think we managed to at least do some great communication during the years we've worked with it. We got some people along, and I'll try to share a bit about our experiences and approaches on what we have done past year. So one of the great things to go and inspire decision makers on timber, architects, engineers, builders, in just being more diverse in the choice. And just telling the story that there is actually 50,000 species out there, and they might only be able to mention 5 or 10 or whatever, depending on what industry they are in. So just this simple biologic fact that we are having really many species in the forest. Of course, it's not all species that have a use or are able to, we can make wood products of, but it's just saying something about the diversity. And if you only use the same 5 species, then we might have a problem. And telling that story, it's my experience that actually inspires them and to listen to more. And then there is the naming of what should we call this sport. I will say this is some of the terms that's normally used, and a big discussion is what is a lesser known species, or what is a lesser used species, how used can it be before it's being a lesser known, and is it important that we call it lesser known species, or how do we talk about this so we don't get the confusion and the discussions on if it's really lesser known, because it can be really different from market to market. It can be very different in time. It can be, so there's many aspects to this where we need a new word maybe. So for us, it's not about it's being rare or unknown. It's really about the diversity, and that we diversify the business case for the forest, and of course all the sustainability factors on how we manage the different species. So let's just call it timber species diversity, and we work for diversification. Because what is a good species and what is a bad species? What is it's a situation, and then we need to change the way we approach this, because if the market only knows 5 species, then we have the builders calling Africa for Asobe and Asobe and Asobe. And this is how then in Africa they will go for Asobe. But maybe if we did it based on inventories, forest inventories instead, so we showed how many species there was actually useful, complementary, depending on the use case, and we put the demand on basis of what is actually in the forest, then we would have a much better business case. We would have much better management, and maybe also take off a lot of the pressure on the forest. So that's it. Some of these things are of course complicated, because it's not just taking species, it's also finding out what are they used for, and if they are in the forest and stuff like that. And when we look at it, we need so much to promote a species that is not known to the market, and that is what we need these broad alliances for, both on the technical part and in the forest management part, because it's not that a species is available in sustainable amount. It also needs to be cut. You need to have a good yield. You need to have a lot of aspects covered for this. And at the end, we also need to pair these species with some end uses. So we need to talk with the architects and the engineers on placing the timber for this project, and have, you know, tests and long-term tests of these species in use. And when we ask, and that's also a thing on documentation, so if you ask an engineer on what is needed for the species, it's not enough to show it like we see all the beautiful African species around this booth, because they want these numbers. It's a big list of things that they need, so to promote this. So this needs to be covered also, and we need to have these technical aspects covered in this. And then to the market side and the promotion, and I will say the wood business in general are not good communicators, because they communicate to themselves, and that's my experience. I hate to say it, but that is what we see. So if you want to sell shoes, don't show the warehouse. Then you then show the shoe. And the timber sector sell timber like this. And this is not appealing for architects and engineers and whatever. So we need, of course, to show the timber in use. And if we see that on, for instance, what is a competitor, maybe in some cases to the tropical timber, if you just look at all the modified timbers and see the companies who do that, they do it targeting architects, showing these lovely pictures. This is a bit of a mix because it's both modified and maybe it's why we have a beautiful picture. But anyways, we could do much better. So what we tried to do from FSC was that some years ago, 8 years ago or something, we made the lesser known timber species database. Sorry, I'll change the correct. We started off making animals. These we made sets, 3 animals, 36 species, and we sent them out to architects just to tell the story about species diversity, that there are many things out there, and everybody, of course, asks, where can I get it, and then we have a trouble. So we also need to have them in store, right? So we can actually, when we have inspired, then can also go and get it. Yeah, together with that, we made the lesser known timber species database. That's more than 250 species with profiles, but we don't want to be a technical database. We want to be an inspirational database. We have Jean Girard here, who have provided much of the data for this. We should go for the data at Girard or Ligua. But we want to show the cases when the timber is in use. So I'm a case collector. So every time you have FSC certified cases going out with using species diversity, then we are really interested in showing it, promoting it, and just give it a place. So there is references, and we keep on reminding ourselves about these references, and we also visit them after 10 years and 15 years and see how it behaves. So that is what we do. And then we have the species library in this. Okay, so we made these, and then we needed to scale up. We need to make it even bigger. So in Aarhus, Denmark, we have our office in Aarhus, Denmark, and this is 10 minutes away from our office. This is a trade fair hall just like this. So 2 times a year there is a building conference or a trade fair, so we can take people up to this lovely platform consisting of 17 species. And this is a temporary project, and that you can really work with temporarity on these urban projects, and you can like get the companies together and show the timber. So we put in 7 species like this just to talk about species diversity. Some of them are lesser known, some of them are really well known, but we talk about diversity, and then you can see the one you normally use, and then you can actually see the others. And we got almost a full Danish wood sector together on this project. So these collaborations, and because we did that, people came visit, and my phone rang and say, what? Municipality in Holstebro called me up and say, we have wood platforms, big wood platforms in our geopark. What can we do? We want to tell something about sustainable wood. So they built this with a multi-species approach. So they could mix in species like this, 8 species put in by a project certification in a project certified project with now 8 species. And instead of telling the story about the geopark, they made a big poster with a lot of timber information and things like that. So we can actually, by doing things, by being active, we can motivate others to do this. And we need much more platforms and temporary projects to show to the specifiers of timber. So that's just some of the approaches. And then the next thing. This is just a demonstration of what it's not final, but this would be our next project. We have a budget for 600 sets of these that will go out to architects and engineers and stuff like that around Europe, and we hope that could inspire to more species diversity use in the wood sector. So that's how we work. I would say for now, maybe we should have Stefan on the stage, Glanache from Precious Woods. And as you see, they have quite a few species. But maybe you first, Stefan, why is it so important for the forestries to diversify?
Should I make it in French or en français or English? Yeah. I mean, for all the reasons you explained, I mean, I will not repeat it. I mean, I mean, we should not lie. Sustainability means taking less than what the forest is generating we don't have to fly too high. This is the base. And of course, is to respect the balance of this diversity. And if we exploit one species, we cannot say it's sustainable. It's just per definition, just not sustainable. So we just try to apply what is good for the forest, and also what is good for the economy. Because I mean, if we are depending only on one or two species, we are just economically not sustainable, and it means that our model to create an economic model that contributes to the conservation is wrong. So it's just a must to respect and promote this diversity, because it improves, let's say, the efficiency of this model on long term, and it's good also for the forest. So. Yep, sorry.
Yeah, thanks. And with this in mind, how did you start with the diversification? Because well, it's a pretty traditional business. Maybe it was if it was Brazil, classic Kumaru Ipe, but what changed it all?
That's a good question, because when I have joined Precious Wood in Amazon, there were at this time, let's say, harvesting 12 species, and commercially they had something like 7 who were you know in demand. And finally, I said, no, we have to go for 30 species. And they said, no, it's not possible. We have no demand and things like that. But I said, we have to put them on the market, and we lower the price, because people, if they listen to you, I mean, our story, they don't care. If you come with a low price, they start to listen to you. And of course, nobody wants to sell at low price. So it has been a fight internally also in the company to agree with this strategy. But then, so when they have received at low price the first try order, then they say, oh, finally, it's not so bad. So what about repeating? And then when they repeat, I say, okay, please, can we increase a little bit the price, you know? and step by step, we have, by experiencing, you know, those lesser non-timber species, so we are in total doing 70 species now at Precious Wood. Let's say they became slowly, let's say, accepted. So of course, sometimes they had some bad experience, and we have taken a responsibility. So we had to start slowly and say, okay, if you have a problem, we'd assume. And then we had this positive exchange with those customers that there, let's say, to make this try, and step by step, let's say, they become more known on the market, and step by step more accepted. So with also better price, and slowly, let's say, we have managed to secure now almost these 70 species, and so to reach a profitable level, which was not the case the year before.
And with 70 species, do we know enough about all these species? Do we have all properties covered, or do we need more on this from the technical side to you know, I showed the list on the technical requirements for an engineer, for instance. So are these species market ready for technical projects and stuff like that? How
yeah, we have the data on paper, but even for one species, only in a country like France, one species, if I take just to say Garapa, for example, they will apply it for decking in the north, but they don't dare to apply it in the south of France because of the humidity is not being the same, so you have a different reaction. So it's very difficult, let's say, to only base on scientific, you know, because they cannot make, you know, a book for each location, you know. And so, yes, we have the literature, but let's say the market will follow what is existing. So this is a problematic. Let's say literature is a must, but I would say it's not enough. So we have a congratulation for what you do, because this project that experiencing the timber, and so you can look how it reacts, you know, after 10 years, 5 years. That's a very good initiative, because that's what the architect want to see. They trust more this than the books, you know, and so we need more of this example. And we have now, let's say, at Precious Wood, let's say, several, let's say, records of projects already delivered more than 10, 20 years ago. Well, 10. So already, let's say, we're inviting some architects to go to visit if they want to control. And also, we say, we take a responsibility if something go wrong. But, you know, it's a big responsibility, you know, because it can be costly sometimes. So.
And on the communication side, in the promotion of this, have you had any specific strategies for this, or is it through the sales channels, or how do we secure that the different species come out there and yeah, the specifiers are made aware? So.
Well, you said before, I mean, in a business, we are not good in communication, and you are right. but we don't only show, let's say, the logs, let's say, in the warehouse, as you said. And we took now another initiative that is called, it's a collection called This is Precious. And not precious because of precious wood, but precious because of the impact of the species, let's say, on the forest. And so, well, this is not the best example, but we have decided, let's say, to connect the people, let's say, through the medium of art and design, and so we have started with this bench called Iris, and yeah, putting the light also on the lesser known timber species that finally, let's say, all mixed together, they're even more beautiful. And I would say it's also a message, you know, that we're even more beautiful when we are different in a kind of, you know, and I must say we've made this collection just for inspiration, and we have presented last week in US, and it has been very well received, because now people are asking for that. I mean, they don't even ask for the story; they just ask for the bench, yeah, by showing, let's say, the species, let's say, yeah, I mean, in other aspects, let's say, it create an inspiration. He is Angelim Rajado, it was not so much known, and finally presented like that. It had also a certain success, and we had also the idea to create this gorilla. So first we wanted to make them in 100 species, because now we say 70, but in fact, the next, we are now over 100 species, because we are also promoting the species from the communities in Central America. So we are making also this bench with their species. And so this gorilla was a kind of campaigns to address the message united for biodiversity, and also to connect to the consumer how it's important to support sustainable forestry. I mean, when I talk about natural forest, because by supporting a model of operation, they are supporting the conservation of those forests, compared to, let's say, if they will go for plantation, where in terms of biodiversity, this is totally the opposite. You have some, FSC certified eucalyptus, it's against biodiversity. You have no wildlife inside, and after two rotation, most of time, let's say, nothing grow again. So there was some debate about that, you know. But definitely, let's say, when you harvest, like we do, 2 trees per hectare every 35 years, impact is close to 0, and in contrary, let's say we maintain to this conservation, and people, let's say, yeah, first they are connected by the beauty, and then after, let's say, we develop the story. If we start by the story, I find it boring. If we connect the people through, let's say, something that they just like, they are more open to listen to the story.
And that's, I will also say, we start somewhere, and on many markets, and markets are very different around Europe, just where we work. There's a big difference on the Netherlands and Germany, for instance, on how tropical timber is perceived. But in general, you need to start telling the good story about the good changes that you do with sustainable forestry in general. And then on top of that, you have the diversification, and you could have ecosystem services, or you could have smallholder support, and you can. But sometimes it's disarming the maybe a bit aggressive debate, a negative debate about tropical timber in general, and yeah.
But that's the biggest challenge. Let's say, well, everybody now is aware that we have to take care about the forest. We need more forest, but all are going on reforestation project because it's very easy to communicate. Because the people feel like they are doing something more for the planet, so they feel like they create something new. When we do anything on the existing forest, they feel like we are touching. And we are degrading. It's just the shortcut, you know. And so all the new fund who wants to do something positive for the planet, they go for reforestation. It's easy to communicate. They feel like, okay, we are making something. Yeah, it's a plus. It's a plus for the planet. When the urgency is to protect the existing, and this is still yeah, it's still a lot to do on that because people want to do something, and if they do something, they go for reforestation. They don't dare to go for the model we are promoting that is very much more complex, very much more costly, and misinterpreted. So people are scared just to be part of something that can be misinterpreted.
Great. A bit back to the technical side. We have Gerard. We have Jean Gerard here. Where are we on the technical clearance on these species? Maybe you could, now we have you here, it's just...
Okay, I'm just going to say some words. Maybe I'm going to speak in French. Christian is informed about all what I'm going to say, and maybe it would be better for the translator than translate my English in French. Quelques mots, hein, je pense que pour parler des essences secondaires, le mieux, c'est que ce soit des opérateurs, comme vient de le faire Stéphane Glanas, que ce soit des opérateurs privés qui le fassent, plus que nous, des institutionnels. Bon, peut-être juste quelques mots. J'avais eu l'occasion, lors d'un think tank à la TIBT, de présenter 2-3 diapos sur le sujet. Voilà, 2-3 idées. Hein, 2-3 idées. Le fait que l'exploitation des essences secondaires, des LKTS, et leur mise en marché, ben, ça ne se décrète pas. Hein, ça ne se décrète pas à partir de résultats d'inventaire. Hein, je pense que Stéphane Glanas sera d'accord là-dessus. Bon, j'avais parlé aussi, mais alors Emmanuel Groutel, on parlerait mieux que moi de ce fameux changement de paradigme. Hein, l'idée de ne plus partir de la forêt, voir les essences qui sont disponibles et voir comment on peut les placer sur le marché, partir au contraire du marché et remonter, voir quelles seraient les essences disponibles pour pouvoir alimenter ce marché. Bon, ce qui est clair aussi, je pense que Stéphane Glanas sera complètement d'accord avec ça, c'est qu'il faut que la démarche parte des opérateurs. Bon, nous, institutionnels, on peut aider, appuyer, contribuer à. Mais il faut réellement que ça parte des opérateurs. Là aussi, des actions à conduire. Enfin, moi, je pense, je ne sais pas si Stéphane sera d'accord, l'idée, c'est de promouvoir peu d'essence à la fois, hein, progressivement. Hein, je crois que vous en avez parlé, travailler sur 1-2 essences, non pas sur des paquets d'essence. Parce que bien souvent, quand on travaille sur des gammes d'essence trop larges que l'on essaie de promouvoir, ça conduit à l'échec. Bon, les quelques autres idées qui avaient été avancées, c'est que pour promouvoir ces essences secondaires, essayer de cibler des familles d'utilisation qui sont très, très consommatrices est très demandeuse. Donc ça part, hein, comme je disais au début, d'une analyse du marché. Bon, on avait parlé de bois massif reconstitué, de type carrelé 3 plis pour les menuiseries. Alors ça, c'est le grand dada de Frédéric Anquetil. Il est arrivé sur des produits reconstitués à intégrer à l'intérieur de ces produits des essences secondaires de moins bonne qualité, entre guillemets, moins durables, et que l'on peut ainsi davantage valoriser. Un produit type carrelé 3 plis avec à l'extérieur des essences haut de gamme et à l'intérieur des LKTS justement que l'on essaye de promouvoir, et puis des grands marchés comme tout ce qui est aménagement extérieur et decking, qui actuellement est très très demandeur en France et en Europe, et sur lesquels il y a sûrement des choses à faire. Donc voilà juste les quelques mots que je voulais dire. Parmi au début, hein, ce que vous avez présenté, Christiane, les acronymes LKTS, j'en rajouterai un, parce que c'est vrai qu'il y en a eu des paquets. Moi, je me rappelle avoir entendu parler de classe, Commercially Less Accepted Species. Moi, quand j'ai commencé il y a 30 ans au CIRAD, on parlait d'essence secondaire. Et puis rapidement, on a dit, c'est vrai que c'est un terme un peu péjoratif, d'où ces nouveaux termes qui sont sortis, essence peu connue, essence peu commercialisée. Et là-dessus, les anglo-saxons sont arrivés avec leurs multiples acronymes, tels que ceux que vous avez indiqués. Voilà, donc c'est juste quelques mots que je voulais dire sur le sujet. Et le mieux, c'est, comme je le disais, c'est que ça soit les opérateurs.
I think there was a question to Stefan in what you said. Is that right?
It was not really a question. There was just some confirmation. I mean, we feel. No, the fact is our world is like standard. So it's always about economy, doing more cheaper, and so why they focus on dominating species in order, let's say, to reduce costs. And this is what we have to change. But it's difficult to tell a company that to accept to increase its cost, and so. Yeah, I mean that's for all the benefit. I mean we do that for the benefit of the nature, not for the benefit of your pocket. And the world is still about the benefit of the pocket, and so they focus on price, they focus on productivity and standardization, and for that they want big volume of one species, so they have no technical, less technical trouble, and to change that it will. It's difficult. It's difficult.
Great. Our time is almost up. A last thing I would say, and that's the next thing that we will target. That's in 1 year from now. We have Copenhagen as agricultural capital of the world. So a lot of decision makers will be there. And we will do ours to inspire. The theme is leave no one behind. So this is a perfect opportunity to reach those who actually are taking the decisions on timber and who needs to be familiar with the great world of timber species diversification, right? So thank you to Stefan for joining. Thank you to Jean. For your input, and maybe a question from the floor, if anybody have anything here. Oh.
Ok, merci de la parole qu'il m'a donnée. J'ai pas retenu le nom parce qu'au départ j'étais un peu distrait. Stéphane et Jean-Gérard, et je vais aller là où ils ont chuté. Jean-Gérard a repris et a donné raison à Stéphane qui disait qu'il fallait plutôt que ce soit les opérateurs économiques qui donnent le besoin pour qu'on puisse trouver. Il est parti au lieu des inventaires pour le marché, mais plutôt que les opérateurs expriment et qu'on aille chercher là où cela se trouve. C'est également la discussion que nous avons eue préalablement avant vous, où on disait que la formation voudrait également s'intégrer dans ce processus. Mais il fallait que le secteur privé donne un besoin direct. Et c'est là où ma question va se poser. Est-ce que vous êtes en relation avec des institutions de formation et quelle est l'approche que vous avez? Parce que l'une de nos missions aussi, c'est d'essayer de capter ces approches et de voir si nous pouvons les capitaliser à notre niveau. Ce que vous faites là, le partagez-vous avec les structures de formation ou bien influencez-vous la formation et quelle est l'approche que vous avez pour que nous puissions voir si nous pouvons nous en inspirer. Merci.
We have not direct contact with educational. We work mostly with importers and with the forestries on seeking out it. And so, but yeah, you're probably right. We could do a lot more.
No, but ATIBT is working on that now, and it's creating some link through also some foundation and also with the Minister of Education. So it's just starting, but I know they have a roadmap on this, and time to time we go also to make some presentation. The leading, let's say, institute that is supporting what we do is Jean Blou Institute in Belgium, and that we have here one of the students, but they are very active on the ground. They bring a lot of, but he is a very good example of proactive exchange that is contribute a lot to us, and vice versa, and with some people passionate for what they do, but we should do more. We should do more, and there are too many, let's say, timber schools or architecture schools that don't know enough, let's say, about what we do and how they can also contribute to this model. So definitely there is much more to do, but thanks to ATBT who is doing some action on that.
L'éducation, c'est certes très important, mais en même temps, ce qui est important, c'est de créer aussi des marchés. Parce que si on promeut des tas d'essences qui ne sont pas tellement connues, il faut aussi qu'on prévoie le marché. Et donc ça, c'est aussi un travail que la TBT fait en travaillant avec les autres fédérations en Europe et même avec la fédération européenne. Et quand on est invité à participer à des réunions pour présenter justement les essences moins connues, la certification, je suis toujours au front. Voilà.
Mais les jeunes, quand on leur parle de ce qu'on fait, parce que souvent ils ne le savent pas, ils adorent le sujet. Ils adorent le sujet. Et les ingénieurs, les architectes, ils disent si on peut faire quelque chose pour contribuer. Même les designers, là j'ai eu l'occasion de rencontrer la semaine dernière aux États-Unis. Et qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire, c'est super, tout, etc. Et en fait, ils ne connaissent pas le sujet. Et quand ils comprennent la dynamique et qu'ils peuvent contribuer à une histoire positive, franchement, il y a un élan assez intéressant.
Thank you very much for this presentation. This topic of less known species is an old topic, but it's good to see that it's taking now new avenues and moving forward. But my question is, Stefan, you mentioned, this notion of niche market, the precious species, and, these wood as precious species. And very often when we discuss with international organizations, and as you mentioned, there is a bit of misconception or misunderstanding of sustainable forest management and what it does for forests and for the environment. So very often we hear from our counterparts saying, oh, we can develop wood in the bioeconomy, but not with native species. We should go for planted species. And so my question to you is whether by focusing on niche markets, we wouldn't be reinforcing this idea that native species are only for native, naturally harvested species would be only for niche markets, and therefore big projects like the Olympics and so could not take tropical wood on board. So just a provocative question.
But that's what I've tried to explain yesterday during another presentation. When I said this is precious, is because of the impact of the species, and I hope they will not interpret like you say, and that's something we have to be careful. But you saw also when we say fair and precious, but precious is really about the impact, and for the people who I had the opportunity, let's say, to exchange with, they took it like that. So hopefully, but yeah, we have to be careful because it's about communication, and so if we are going in the wrong direction, it's better to correct it as soon as possible.
I think there's many approaches, and doing more species and put more species in also to the bigger volume segments. For instance, decking, you would easily take in 30 species, different kind of species, and the question is whether the customer should know all these species names, or they just should get, you know, insured quality, a class something decking or whatever, and that could also be a promotional thing. So we get smaller volumes up to bigger volumes, but not species specific.
But let's be honest. If the, let's say, the African species, let's say, were popular first, it's not because, let's say, it was for the price. And sadly, let's say, most of, let's say, the tropical species are cheaper than what you oak, for example, you know, in Europe or in US. And so the first attraction was because of the price. And by experiencing, again, they find out that, okay, those species have some technical, let's say, specificity that, let's say, yeah, worth more. And I would say, very positive on the average price of the timber. Let's say we will export, let's say, from all the tropics, because they have some natural strengths and specificity that justify some better price. And hopefully same as oak in the future. So there is big room for progress, and sadly the price of the tropical species are much below what they deserve. So
I will sort of respect the time and end here. Thank you for your contributions, and yeah, have a good few hours left of the fair.